This is part of CAGES, and again, just Googling the word EZ track with a K, one word, it goes right there. This is the only easy track in the whole inner space. So again, what this is it's kind of ugly. It's not the prettiest web face, but this is a way to look at what is in relating to a piece of property. What are the actions and activities going on with a piece of property? So since we had our friends on Orient, we'll type that one in. So, let's see if I can expand that. That's not what I wanted. It's probably way too small. What we have though is a line-by-line list of any activity that have gone on here. This can include property maintenance violations, any forms of building permits, any forms of actions that the city has done. And so on this one, for example, I see that they in 18 submitted for a plumbing permit in April. And it's currently approved, but approved meaning it hasn't been issued. Routing means it's in work. Approved means everybody's done at the city, we're waiting for cash. And issued means it's out the door and supposedly somebody's going to get it inspected. So we had in March, somebody got a building combo permit, which means that we're going to do a multiple number of projects in the property. In the subtype, that second column, not very visible here, it gives you a sense of what that is by a code name. So it always will tell you if it's a residential property or commercial property. It will tell you if it's new, an alteration, or an addition. So if it's addition, that means there's physically new space being built on the property. Alterations mean the envelope's not changing, you're doing something on the inside. If it's something like HVAC or plumbing or electrical, those are separate. So again, electrical is not by the city, it's by a third-party contractor, IBI. So again, if you see inspection bureau, that means they're doing electrical work. And there also on this one, there was a property maintenance code enforcement problem. Looks like in February, we might have caught somebody doing work without a permit. So, which led to the permit in March, which led to the plumbing permit in April. So,
which was really a misunderstanding.
It often is. It's always a misunderstanding. Always a misunderstanding. So if you actually click on those are hyperlinked. And so, you know what, I should have picked a combo. My apologies. So if a permit is in process, you see basically every one of those blue squares is the agencies that have to react to a permit. So in a combo permit, normally not just the building department, the zoning department, but oftentimes the associated departments, water, sewer, storm, roads, etc., all have a line. If they're required to be a part of the process, they have a line. It says it's approved or denied, and if you touch any of those, it tells you every line-by-line transaction that department has done in relating to the permit. It tells you when they got it. It tells you when they stopped. It tells you what the conditions were. It tells you when the revision occurred. So if you're asking about where's the progress, and you can't get on my phone because 45 other people are on the call all day, this is how, if you just want to know what's the activity on a project, this gives you up to the minute, because this is updated at probably every hour, every day, as to where these permits lie, where it's stuck, what the problem is, because the problem should be identified. If it's stuck, I want more information, you did this inaccurately, and by who in there as well. And also, the inspection card also lists when they've been coming out, and what the inspectors have said, and how many times has it been inspected or never inspected. And so again, if you're just the curious character, if I saw dumpsters down the street and some contractors, and you're just like, is that a permitted project? First you can see if there's a permit. Has it been issued? Because if it hasn't been issued, that means they're working beforehand. And then what's the status of the permit and where is that? Inspections. That's probably something people don't see enough, and this is probably something day in and day out you guys probably are more interested in. In the CAGES online map, let's see which one's left. I have too many things still open. So again, the web-based one for here, 6:30. Actually, and we'll do 6:30 Orient. Again, if you haven't touched this before, this is a basic GIS program. It does give you some of the very basic pieces that the auditor's department goes to, so if you were just kind of loosing it before you want to know super details, you get the parcel numbers, you can get the current owners, you can get allegedly where they're at, where their mailing address is, some levels of what the county auditor thinks, the last date of transaction, sale price. You can also turn on various layers using, and this is pretty well documented in that big book, so I won't spend.
Is that all properties that, or just properties that had an incentive?
No, this is every property. This is pulled continuously from all the different departments. So auditor's website's uploaded all day, property transactions uploaded, recorder's transactions uploaded. Everything gets continuously fed back into this GIS system. A little bit behind. I would say usually if you're looking at transactional material, think about 2 weeks before it shows up here. And actually, and again, transactions don't even occur quickly on the auditor's recorders too. So if it's probably within the last month, if you think it just happened, it's probably not showing up yet.
That's real.
Yeah. Well, and again, to keep moving all that stuff along, sometimes if you look at the pile of paper at the auditor's office, you know why it took so long. So again, you can get some basics on the zoning districts. Again, it should lead you to the other piece. The other thing I'll just say real quick, if you ever Google Muni Code, one word, and Cincinnati, it will lead us to the municipal code of the city. And again, as I said before, you only look at chapter 14 unless you're a very special neighborhood. And in there is the basics on the zoning districts and so forth. The last thing I wanted to leave you is 2 tidbits of future coming attractions. As I mentioned, I would keep your ears open for coordinated site review, which is going to be that pre-dev function we mentioned. Basically what we're hoping to do is expect certain levels of detail at certain times in the thought function. So if you're at bubbles and ideas, bubbles in, bubbles out, we're going to probably talk about preliminary reviews. If you're getting ready to do something like a rezoning, or you're kind of in a strong due diligence process and it's a site work, we're probably going to talk about concept review, so we need a little more about bulk and ideas and a little more semi-specific. If you're especially doing like PDs and complicated construction, we're often going to encourage people to do a technical review. So the level of drawings and materials in come in deeper, the level of response comes out deeper. Though all this is trying to get people organized in pre-permitting and mid-point design ideas. So technical, if you ever talk to an engineer, 30% drawings. If an engineer says, we're at a 30% concept or 30% review, this is generally what we want to do. We think we've found all the big hiccups. We haven't done the design details down to the I's and T's. But that's the right time to check with us, because again, if you put this pipe down this place and it's not where we thought it would work, and we're not going to agree with it, maybe we should change the pipe now before you engineered it out. The other thing that you're probably going to hear a word called Open Counter. And this is a piece of software, it's a web portal piece that we're going to be deploying with us. The vendor is Open Counter. What we're trying to do is give some basic information about you and your specific idea to what that might be in the zoning code and the permitting activity that may be involved to get it open. And so what it'll be is a series of questions and answers, and it will give you a generalized scope at a piece of property, what might be the challenge points, and what it will do, much like you said, to go to your lawyer with not just research everything about the property, but I pulled up a couple documents, I got some things in mind, I think these are the key questions. What we're hoping to do, that self-service portal will allow these people to maybe come with a better question and answer to my staff. So the staff is not saying, well, you're generally a B2 or a SF2 district. We're actually saying, yeah, and you want this and this and this. Well, let's talk details. So the conversation moves from generalities to details. If you were to look in permitting in Indianapolis, that would be probably what we're getting ready to model to. And again, that is something we're expecting on fiscal year July 1. If you generally don't know where to start, zoninginfo@cincinnati-oh.gov. The reason I say there, I'm very hard to find and I'm very bad at returning calls. But zoning info basically is my front door desk, and I route it based on who's got capacity. So it's probably better for you to know any and all of our staff who can answer fast, as opposed to just relying on the man at the front, because the man at the front's never there.
Can you put like how are changes in the code communicating to the public? You know, if there's a significant change, is that the code, do people have to track that?
Can we repeat the question?
Yep, so the question was changes in code, and I'm assuming you're speaking mostly to zoning code, because we don't change building code very often. So it's, first off, whose function? It's a legislative function. So the department in charge is, this is your Q&A, we said this earlier, who runs the legislative processes? Planning. So A, planning runs the whole community engagement process. The affected property owners are always notified, especially if it's map amendments. Text amendments tend to be text amendments are always delivered to community councils at the official community council address that the city recognizes, not whatever you do under the breath. So whatever your formal address, email, and phone number for the community council, as economic development knows it, is where all official correspondence from the city arrives. So whoever pays attention to that by email and whoever pays attention to that by mail is where the notice occurs. It's probably, some places are probably not as good as others, especially text amendments, but that is where the community is informed.
Do you know how you make sure your address is correct if there's a liquor permit activity within your area to make sure notification gets to the community development corporations?
I am not sure who manages liquor material. My impression is it's the police department, but I don't know what they use, so I cannot speak to it.
Outdated addresses on there.
Maybe all
Okay.
fifties, all the rest.
I will not account for their activity.
Okay.